goddamnfitness.com, your number one for research supplements. Here's the real lowdown of nootropics. In this video, we'll discuss the definition of smart drugs, what are nootropics, what are smart drugs used for, the difference between smart drugs and nootropics, the strength of smart drugs and nootropics, what are the brain benefits of nootropics, are nootropics and smart drugs safe, and how can you optimize smart drugs and nootropics? Right, what are nootropics? Nootropics are stimulants that improve cognitive functions like motivation, memory recalling, alertness, and creativity. The most famous nootropic would be coffee or black tea. These are classic nootropics that remove brain fog from sleep to get us feeling ready to tackle our day. The main ingredient, of course, being caffeine. These are naturally enhancing mental functions. Nootropics are becoming popular, being all trends in tech and biohackers like Tim Ferriss, for example. So to coin the term of nootropics, it was done by the inventor of paracetam. They should enhance memory and learning. They should enhance resistance of learning behaviors. They should protect the brain. They should increase control mechanisms, and they should lack in usual pharmacology or psychotropic drugs. So basically have fewer side effects. Right, so what are nootropics and smart drugs used for? Well, this is a little bit more tricky to define, but it's been popularized by caffeine and the accelerated use of Adderall by doctors to retain focus, to study, and help pass exams. Generally speaking, I think this nails it from a human evolutionary standpoint. It's always one of the most debated topics in neuroscience. Human beings have always wanted to use substances to improve cognitive functions. From the use of hallucinogenics in ancient civilizations in the attempt to allow better communication with the gods, the widespread use of caffeine under various forms, to the more recent developments of drugs like stimulants and glutamine activators. According to many, this continued demand for substances to improve cognitive skills is typically a human feature. Therefore, cognitive enhancement can be considered as an application of new scientific advances to achieve the age-old desire of self-improvement. And I 100% agree with this. Right, what are the differences between smart drugs and nootropics? In the year 2019, this is becoming increasingly difficult to break up these topics. I like to think of it in two different ways. Nootropics are stimulants that aid the brain to function at better capacity. Nootropics are neuroprotective and relatively non-toxic. The majority of over-the-counter drugs, these are generally herbs and racetams like the ones listed below. With smart drugs, these are cognitive enhancers. Smart drugs will not make you smarter by any definition, but can improve the functioning of your brain, otherwise known as attention deficit disorder. So drugs like Adderall, Ritalin, and modafinil are smart drugs. What are the benefits of nootropics? To accelerate learning and memory functions, but also protecting the brain. This is one of the primary benefits of nootropics, but they tend to get convoluted in a spiral of awesomeness sales gimmicks. Nootropics can assist with disruptive conditions like Alzheimer's and help break brain functions. They are known actually to protect the brain. These substances are also enhancing and sustaining processes that few processes can do and have fewer side effects. Are nootropics and smart drugs safe? Well, this depends on the supplement you're taking and the experiment you're doing. If you've any previous health condition, these mightn't be for you. It's difficult enough to find out which substances work to help build muscle and endurance, never mind brain chemistry. Neurotransmitters are still in the early stages of research, and there is new science to back this up. So nutrient and herbal nootropics generally are considered pretty safe as long as they come from good manufacturers, and just look out for third-party testing. So this will give a good indication if it's safe to use. So for example, some people don't react well even with caffeine. So this can really depend on the person. Racetams. So some people don't act well with racetams reporting brain fog. Again, it's an individual experience. They're relatively low toxicity, but you need to be aware like any other supplement. So the issue with racetams is there's not really much research done behind them. They're actually prescribed for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients. So it's really hard to define this because the studies out in them are really hard to define brain chemistry in general. With smart drugs, there has been studies with modafinil that they can protect the brain, and it's only if they're abused they can cause other medical conditions. So you should always contact a professional before you take any of these. Same goes with Adderall and Ritalin. They have more side effects than usual, and if they are abused, they can cause neurotoxicity and affect dopamine levels and reward systems. So it can create an imbalance in your brain receptors. So how can you optimize smart drugs and nootropics? Guys, this one's such a tough question, but here's where you can start. You can decide on what goal you want and where your weaknesses are. So for example, for myself, I picked memory recall and mental fatigue. These are some things I suffer from as I have dyslexia. So to give you an idea, I looked up the research behind alpha GPC and choline, and these are pretty good for memory recall. And they generally are pretty good at balancing out the neurotransmitters. So I've tried some of these. You generally want to pick your weakness and see where you can apply a certain substance to help with it. So if you look below in the article I have, you'll find more details about each substance and which ones might apply to you. Which are the best nootropics and smart drugs? Also a very difficult question. It depends on your goal. If it's passing an exam or if it's writing a book, they could require really different types of nootropics. So it's not just while going for hell to leather and just get Ritalin, the strongest one, and see if it'll work, because chances are it'll actually cause a lot more side effects. And if you do some research yourself, you can actually just find some cofactors that can really give you really good results and actually help your brain. So it's really just a kind of controversial subject, but if you look below on the different types and you pick which areas you'd like to improve, you'll be able to kind of tackle it one by one and get your own supplements online to get better results. So in conclusion, like I said, it's a terribly difficult subject to study. It's brain chemistry after all. Maybe we'll have some AI machines in the future that can pick apart our DNA and let us know what we need. The brain needs 25% oxygen of the metabolic activity that tells you a lot about the brain functions. If you abuse one nootropic for a long period of time, it can damage your reward systems like dopamine. It can actually even cause depression in the long term. If you take an amphetamine like Ritalin or Adderall, it can really affect and damage neurons and cause neurotoxicity. So sometimes you might find fasting or intermittent fasting could work well to tackle certain tasks. If you want to do something like modafinil, it would really be used on a once-off situation. It would have to be a very special occasion to use it. So cognitive health is kind of slowly increasing. People are becoming more aware of it to improve themselves. So this is just my opinion, guys. If you want to see more, check out the article or simply just Google goddamnfitness.com/nootropics and you'll get more information about this subject. So some interesting facts. Multiple athletes have been caught using substances like modafinil for performance enhancing, like cyclists. Same goes with Adderall. And some athletes actually get a TUE that gives them kind of a waiver exception to use certain substances. But it just goes to show that they're that powerful that they can even perform a performance enhancement. Racetams are not added onto the list of USADA. So please be aware and check out for the latest information just in case it changes. To summarize, guys, these are supplements and research chemicals. Some of them do come with risks, and some of them have less side effects. Some of them have more side effects. Some of them are still under research. Some of them might be legal, but most of them are sometimes not approved by the FDA. Some of them are listed as not fit for human consumption. So check your local laws. By the time you view this video, laws do tend to change. If you like this video, give us a pound like below, share and subscribe our video. And most importantly, check out our website and article that we wrote about this subject to get more details. Thanks for listening, guys.